This is my concept for a Tesla Roadster. I'm calling it the Tesla TrakStar. Well, actually, I called it the Tesla Track with no C in it to start with. There, the Tesla Track. And I started by drawing the profile here, which was basically very similar to a Porsche 911, but with a front. Whereas your 911 has a front that get some light here, please. Yeah, your 911 has a very straight front, but it kind of comes like that. So I decided that the Tesla would just come straight down like that, and be rounded, but be rounded. So from the side, it's going to look like this. And then I thought, then the lights would just be bars, LED bars. And there's no reason why they can't cover the whole front of the car, because you don't need a radiator on an electric car, so we could end up with something like this. Then I put a bump on the bonnet to give it that sporty roadster look, and that could also be curved like that, a bit like the old Ford Capri. And of course the back, well, I could have taken the back down, but I think it would have given it this limpet-like look. I mean, maybe that would be, maybe Elon would go for that look. So let's just try that out quickly here. So instead of what I did there, I like the idea that the only curve on this car is really that back window. The rest is going to be fairly brutal, so especially this front. Fairly brutal like that. Obviously the windscreen will have a curve to it. We don't want the windscreen not to have a curve. So we've got this brutal front, but I think the front wheel probably wants to be fairly close to the front, because it's probably going to have a lot of weight in here. I think it's going to probably be front wheel, rear wheel 60-40 kind of, to get the best, sportiest feel out of it. So not a mid-engine like the Porsche, but it will have quite a lot of weight in the front. So perhaps quite a lot of battery in the front. You see, if we bring this all the way down, it starts to become a little bit too Boba Fett, I think. Could put more of a slant on that back. It starts to look a little bit old-fashioned. I think it starts to look like something French from the 1960s. It's not quite right. It's a bit more like a 2CV or something. So I think this back has to be cut off, but we cut it off sharp like that, and pretty much as an arrowhead, pretty much symmetrical, pretty much that is the shape of the back. It is. So I'm trying to draw a centre line there, pretty much a symmetrical shape like that at the back, but rounded as well. And this would also have the LED lights going there like that. So the LED lights in the front, a sports lump on the bonnet with obviously a slight angle there. It's not going to be, it's going to be in line with that angle there. Very big wheels, and just a two-seater car. Door obviously with a slope for the back and a straight for the front for the hinge. I don't see any reason that the door has to be gull-wing or anything silly like that. Although you could, I suppose in theory the door could slide back. No, it can't slide back because the wheel's in the way. But, oh no, that doesn't mean it couldn't. Just means you'd have to do it differently. Right? I mean, the whole door could come outwards from the car and then pivot around a hinge here. I mean, it could come forward like that and then pivot out of the way. Or it could come forward like that and then pivot on a hinge here and pivot forwards. I mean, that would actually be quite easy to close then, because this would be your door. You'd be reaching this point here inside. Let's just do how that would go. So let's do that, because I like that idea. So this is going to be crazy. So we have our we have our basic car shape like this, coming straight down. And I do hate drawing with a pen uphill. It's very difficult to do. So we've got our basic car shape like this, and the door, and then the windscreen comes a little bit forward from there actually, with its curve. So if this is the door here, why is my camera unable? Yeah, so it's like that. So that's the void left by the door. And then if the door were going forward, it's going to be like this. I don't know, that's quite cool actually, isn't it? Look at that. I quite like that. And then you see you'd grab it there, which what would have been this corner here, and you'd just pull it towards you. You just pull it like that to shut it. You could even have a door pocket sort of this shape, so that like this shape, so that if there's anything in there, it just falls to that. It still stays in there. Whatever's in the door pocket would not necessarily fall out. If you shape that door pocket correctly, it would just sort of clatter into the forward corner of it. So let's just show you the door here. I like the idea that this line here ends up perfectly horizontal. So that's the door open. And then we'll have our wheels like this. Again, it's starting to look very French, but I think that's just with the door open. And also I haven't got the line here, the window line. And I haven't quite got this angle as it should be, because I'm just focusing on the door for this picture. And we haven't got the, what do they call this? The sports bump on the bonnet. I can't think what it's called. It does have a name. But then, you know, there would be your seats inside, like that. Headrest, wheel or yoke or whatever you want to call it. Just getting like that. In fact, we could have a slight curve here, just so you're not banging your head on it. That would come to a curve here, which would be fine. A slight curve there, and you know, I quite like to keep the brutal line there, because that mirrors that brutal line there. I say these are the lights here that would wrap, not all the way to the wheel, but they'd come around a bit, so you could see them from the side. Then they could have amber on the side. They could change from white to amber as they come around, and they'd be the indicator repeaters as well. On such a small car, you might not need indicator repeater here, but you could have one, and then your backlights would be the higher part of this sort of V at the back. They would just be at the back like that. But I do like this method of opening the door there. And the glass, well, the glass would be here, but you could have it so that they're frameless doors, and as they lift, the glass goes into the door. So that as the door lifts, the glass goes in to the door, what glass there is. How much glass could go into the door? You might end up having to have a small bit of glass here or something. Not quite sure how that would work, because obviously yeah, this whole glass can't wind down all the way into the door. So that's another thing to think about. So I'm not quite sure how we would do that. Whether we have a very strong visual line here and then an actual... this is tricky. This is tricky. I'm wondering if the glass can actually rotate on the same pivot but differently. Yes, it can. So we could actually have it so that the door goes to there, but as it does so, the glass rotates to, which would be this parallel rhombus shape. The the glass would go out to this shape here, sit in front of it, like in this shape. And that would be your piece of glass sitting over the door. Look at that, and then you end up with this weird kind of wing, double butterfly wing type thing. That would be kind of cool. So the glass rotates at one speed, the door rotates at a slightly faster speed so that they both get to where they're going. So the glass would have to be in its own frame and it'd have to be non-openable. And then that way, this would be your openable window back here. This could wind down, not very far, or it could wind in this direction and probably go a little bit further. So that could open like that. Then you'd have a little bit of air behind you if this glass had opened to here inside the car. So it's gone to there, and then you would have your little void there to let in some air, but this glass would not be openable because this rotates about what point is this point here? Yes. This could make a feature of it. I mean, this could have quite a big round feature. A really nice, big, chunky, you know, brushed metal hinge like that on a really big brushed metal pivot. And you know, and the door goes on one bit of it. So it would be just to 3D it, you'd have two rings coming off of that pivot. One holds the door, one holds the glass. Glass and door both go up together. I bet it would look fantastic as it swings up. And then your glass ends up sitting over the door like that. Isn't that cool? Anyway, this is my idea. Just random silly ideas. I have ideas for cars. I've called this the Tesla Track. And I suppose we could call it the Tesla TrakStar. That might be the, that might be like the really top of the range one would be the Tesla TrakStar, and it could have a little star here, couldn't it, that lights up, that's permanently lit up. Could even change colour, you know, like a sort of LED. Have a little star on it right there. It could just be orange all the time, and then it flashes when you indicate or something. But just have a nice big fat white plastic star like that. Or it could even be a star moulded, popping out of a circular piece of plastic to echo slightly the American Jeep logo. I don't know if you'd get away with that, but that would be quite cute as well. That would be quite nice. And got Tesla Track TT, you know, it's got the right initials for a race car. Anyway, this is just one of my ideas. See, I have lots of car design ideas. Loads. It's ridiculous how many I have, actually. I mean, I've got so many here that are waiting to go in my notebook, waiting to be glued in my notebook. I have car ideas all the time. There's obviously something wrong with me. I cannot stop coming up with car ideas. It's all my life. There's a Porsche type car. All my life, I have just endlessly doodled cars, and there's something weird about it. It's like a therapy. It's like an obsession. I don't know what it is, but I just sit and draw car profiles constantly, and I can't stop myself. I mean, I just end up throwing most of these away because there's too many. I've got too many car design ideas, and it's just I have to get them out of my head. I have to get them on paper to get them out of my head, otherwise they're in my head, they're stuck in my head. That's the same with my music. I have to write the music, otherwise it's stuck in my head and I can't get rid of it. But so that's kind of how I am with these doodles as well. Once I have an idea for a shape, it's kind of stuck in my head. That's a limpet-like shape there, you see. That's quite a limpety one. But once these are stuck in my head, once I get onto it, I've got a Dodge Viper type kind of collapsing kind of shape there, fairy cake kind of idea. And then sometimes I use more than one colour to try and accentuate the shape. There's the sort of Jaguar type of style of car there. There's one where I've used more than one colour to try to work out what the shape means, what it's doing. So just thought, by way of showing you about my car obsession, my car design obsession. Doodles. For me, they're just doodles, but there is something obsessional about it because you're seeking perfection. There's always one doodle that's perfect. For me, that is it. But this is the first doodle. But that, for me, that's the Tesla track. I really like it. I hope you do too. Hope you like my door idea. I know it would be a nightmare in terms of engineering, but it would also be a good challenge. And it would also look so good with that nice round brushed steel hinge. And that back window that opens would be such a cool, different thing. And I suppose even potentially the front window could open because you just tilt it partly. Instead of opening it, it could just tilt up partly while you're driving along. I mean, that'd be weird. And then it would look like wings. If that front window, just tilted up at 10 degrees, you'd end up with a sort of, with the line, instead of going there with the line of the roof, it would be going up slightly, and then it would have a sharp edge there. That would look rather cool. Kind of reminiscent of the 911 spoiler that rises. So in fact, rather than this sliding window at the back here, you could have that as well as an extra thing, but you could have this window just going up slightly. How cool would that be? Yeah, that would be pretty cool. So there's my Tesla track. Look, I've spent 17 minutes on it. You see what happens?